Thank you very much for coming today. Myself and my colleague, Senator Peter Giorgio, is here today to give support to these Australians, a couple of gentlemen from Melbourne and another gentleman here from Queensland, to give them support with the Royal Commission into the banking sector. If you can appreciate, it was One Nation that called from the very first day that I met with the Prime Minister, there should be a Royal Commission into the banking sector. He was not forthcoming with that Royal Commission, but we pushed and we got a Senate inquiry into the banking sector. Our recommendations were for a Royal Commission. Prior to the report coming down, one day prior to it, they then decided to hold a Royal Commission. I believe it was because of the pressure of One Nation holding that Senate inquiry that put the fear into the Nationals to start saying to the Prime Minister we had to have a Royal Commission into it. What has been exposed from that Royal Commission is clear evidence that the banks and the financial sector have not done the right thing by the people of this country. I hope that at the end of this that there is justice. But the people here, and I've spoken to these people here today, they don't feel there has been justice, and they are fearful that maybe justice will not prevail at the end of this Royal Commission. So, you know, a lot of people, there's been over 5,500 submissions from many Australians. Many of those will not get on the floor of the federal court to have their case heard. That will be a shame. A lot of Australians have lost their properties, their homes, and a lot of them have even taken their lives over this destruction that's happened to them through the banking sector. I fear for them, but I will continue to push with my colleague Peter Giorgio and Brian Burston that justice will be done, and I'm also calling for a further investigation into liquidators, receivers and administrators, and an investigation into mortgage insurance. This goes far beyond, I believe, than what they've actually put before the Royal Commission, and I hope it has opened up a lot for people to have their say. Is there any questions?
Pauline, do you accept the Royal Commission's characterisation of the Commonwealth Bank's decision to default a group of Bank West borrowers as ulterior motives, or perhaps less complimentary conspiracy theories?
Do I believe that to be the case? No, look, a lot of it's been put up as conspiracy theories. I think right from the very beginning I've seen evidence. There's been false signatures put up. I think there's been a lot of foreclosure on properties that shouldn't have happened. The people have been forced to leave their properties. They haven't been behind in their payments whatsoever. This has been disgusting what the banks have done. Look, let me... I can tell you what I think and what I've heard from these people. Let me put up Milton. Milton, would you like to say something to people?
In regards to the Royal Commission, it's heading in the right direction. The biggest problem with the Royal Commission at the moment is it just tends to be dealing with some of the box-ticking scenarios and the paperwork requirements. It's not dealing with the criminal aspect of what the banks are doing in terms of how they're dealing with people, how they're defaulting people, how they're engineering defaults, how they're causing problems. Bank West is a classic example. All part of CBA, false defaults, engineered defaults, they're closing people down, they're shutting their businesses down. The Commission needs to deal with that sort of stuff. It needs to get into the nitty-gritty and start prosecuting these managing directors and CEOs. That's
what they described as ulterior motives or conspiracy theories.
That related to about 2 or 3 isolated cases that were raised. It hasn't dealt with the rest of them. Literally, it was raised on Monday, I think, from memory, and it came up with 3 incidents. And they were the ones they were referring to. It didn't deal with all the others. And all the others are clearly part of that scheme, that Magellan scheme that the bank engineered.
Sorry, Ms. Hanson, do you think banks are engineering defaults?
Yes, I do. The slight bit of evidence that I have seen, I believe they have. And there's a number of people here. I can put, another gentleman if you want to talk to him. These people have actually been following the Royal Commission on a daily basis. And it's tied up their lives for many years. They've lost so much. They can't fight the banks. They can't take to the legal system because they don't have the funds to fight the banks. That's why they're in this situation. That's why there is really no justice in this. The banks have unlimited funds. These people's lives have been destroyed. They've lost their families. It goes a lot deeper than that. And I hope that we do find the right answer to this and they do have justice. We're trying to do what we can. And it goes beyond that, yeah.
Consider the Royal Commission has been having hearings several weeks now. Why have you chosen today?
It has been. I've got Senate estimates on at the moment, and I need to get to the Parliament House, and I will be at Senate estimates. The rest of the time, it's actually been, Parliament's been sitting and other things that have been happening. So I took this opportunity to come here today. It is very important, and the people here were so pleased to see me. And, sometimes you really can't pick just any day to come, so it's fortunate for us to be able to come.
Senator Hanson, you spent about 12 minutes in the hearing room. How is it that you have any idea what's been going on in this Royal Commission at all?
That's exactly right. I've only just flown in from Tasmania this morning. The flights were very hard to get across here. That's why I intend to go back after lunch, the break, and I will be sitting in the Commission until I can catch a later flight this afternoon. It is extremely hard. I don't, as I explained, I wasn't going to continue answering your questions with it. No, that the people here, it's not all about me. I was instrumental in getting Royal Commission going, and I'm pleased with that fact. Now it's up to the people there to listen what's going on. And I've been talking to the people here, how they feel the Royal Commission is going, and they are informing me, and I've asked them, please keep me informed, because I can't do my duties on the floor of Parliament, plus keep an eye on the Royal Commission.
And plus, consequences do you foresee for anti-executives after the Royal Commission?
Look, I think it's very immature to actually make a decision how I think it should be. That's up to the Commissioner himself. How it should be determined. But I know a lot of Australians, those ones that have lost their homes and lost everything, I think they'd come down very, very heavy in penalties on those people who are responsible for this. I mean, say forged signatures, foreclosure on properties, forced off their properties, there's been suicides, there's been deaths. You can never get that back.
Senator, on a different note, you changed your mind once again on government's corporate tax cuts. Why have you done so?
At the time that, At the time that we actually made the decision that the budget hadn't been handed down, on reflection of the budget that's handed down, I thought the government would do a far better job of actually dealing with the deficit that we are in. If you look at the corporate tax cuts, you're looking at around about $65 billion. The PAYE taxpayers, the personal income tax, is going to cost another $140 billion. Australians do need relief, by all means. They are struggling to pay for their mortgages, put a roof over their head and put food on the table. But I have to look at this and justify, where is the money coming from? And we have to be able to afford this. I'm gravely concerned that if we don't reduce the debt that we owe, over $550 billion, we will not be able to provide for our pensioners, the aged, the sick, and put in infrastructure that we need.
Is there any chance that you might reconsider your decision?
No, it won't be reconsidered whatsoever. We've actually passed up to $50 million for turnover for corporate taxes. I'm very pleased with that. I don't regret doing that. Until the government can prove to me they can rein in their spending and be better managers of the taxpayers' dollars, I cannot, in all good conscience, hand out a corporate tax cut to the multinationals, and I must stipulate this. The main factor that is going to hurt corporate businesses and family businesses, or I'm talking about the industries and manufacturing, is a rising cost of power. That's going to destroy the people. We've got to get those power costs down, not the corporate tax cuts. That's going to happen 8 or 10 years down the track. People need help now, immediately, otherwise we're going to see foreclosures of industries, manufacturing jobs, and there will be huge unemployment.
Senator, the Commission's an independent process. Are you concerned by appearing today you'll be accused of trying to have political influence over it?
You're joking, aren't you? I think you should be. I think you are joking.
You're not concerned that
doesn't even warrant an answer. I'm not going to answer your question. That's
a lot of the last days of hearings have been about the franchise models of different companies. Are you looking to, do you think that those agreements have to be changed?
Look, they were discussing about the franchises just earlier when I was sitting there. I can't make a comment on that until I know further about what it entails. Right.
So, the reporting you've seen so far that bank executives should be facing jail after this Royal Commission?
Should.
Based on what heard about the Royal Commission so far that bank executives should face jail for bank this.
If they're found,
Or killing?
if they are found guilty of gross mismanagement and the conduct of actually destroying people's lives, I think it should seriously be looked at. And I have been calling on the Prime Minister to say that the banks and the financial services should be paying for this Royal Commission, not the taxpayers. This is a totally different Royal Commission to others that we have held, and I believe they should be paying for this, not the taxpayer, and they should also be paying compensation to those people that have lost everything.
And if they're found to be fraudulent, they need to be held accountable like everyone else and, face jail time if that's the case.
Do you believe that we need a federal corruption watchdog then?
Look, I've seen the state corruption watchdogs that we've had, and I think they've failed us miserably. If you're going to start up another thing, a federal watchdog, make sure it's run properly, and that's my concern.
And final question,
right.
we've obviously got Andrew Hasty coming out saying about naming a person with parliamentary privilege over the 2013 bribe, and Malcolm Turnbull said there's legal proceedings afoot. Do you have any comment on that matter?
No, I'm aware that he did, and that's up to him. And sometimes you overstep the mark if he really believes that it needed to be named. I trust Andrew Hasty's judgment. I think he's a great member of Parliament, and I think he does a very good job. Thank you.